Today's discussion has to do with taking a look at barriers that the reentry population faces when they come back to the community. As I said, I work with an organization in Cleveland called the Cleveland Community Reentry Program, and I've been there for the past 40 years. So I've seen an evolution in the whole reentry. When I started out with folks involved in prisons, they were ex-cons, and then we saw the language emerge, and then it became ex-offenders, then it became formerly incarcerated individuals, and as we continue to more humanize the language, and now, and I'm pleased to say that we're referring to people involved in the criminal justice system coming back home as returning citizens, because that's what they are. They're returning citizens, and so we're now beginning to put the emphasis on the individual and not on the condition. We've seen our communities across America, particularly Akron County, come a long way in that whole evolutionary process. The program that I work with, Community Reentry, as I said, it's 40 years old. We went back to I don't know if anybody in the room remembers the Attica riots. And we emerged out of the Attica riots. The whole country at that point was beginning to discover that it had people in prison. Jacksonville, Mississippi was rioting. The county had rioted out in the workhouse. So folks were asking themselves, what's going on in prison, what's happening there? And as a member of the faith community, we got involved, and we kind of stayed the course. Our program, Community Reentry, we provide a practical assistance and support to men and women who return to the community after a period of incarceration and to persons placed on probation in lieu of incarceration. And we provide a variety of services to those individuals. We do a lot of case management. We're operating in the prison 3 months prior to a person's release, and in 6 months post-release, we're providing a bevy of support services to individuals, helping them to get clear about what their reentry plans are and what services in the community will be available to them once they get back home, and then connecting to those services. We do a lot of women's services, as everyone probably knows. Women have distinctly different kinds of barriers than do men when they come home, although they have some of the same barriers. So we do have a lot of child custody issues, this trauma that has gone on over years. So we do a lot of trauma-informed care counseling. We do group and individual counseling. We do peer counseling. We provide a variety of mental health services for women and men as they come back. We've got a tutoring program, a mentoring program, a prison visitation program. It is well understood that people do much better while they're incarcerated if they maintain contact with family and friends in the community, and they do much better when they come home. So our prison visitation program is called Friend to Friend, and we visit those people who are getting less visits than their counterparts while they're in the institution. So that's just to give you a quick idea. Collateral sanctions, as you no doubt know, are those legislative prerequisites that get laid on folks, that once you get convicted of a particular offense, then you can no longer do a variety of things because of that particular conviction. The hideousness of collateral sanctions is you may get 3 years for passing a bad check. The collateral sanction goes on for the rest of your life. And some of these collateral sanctions have no direct and substantial relationship to the offense that you committed. So let's say you passed a bad check when you were 20 years old, you're 40 years old now, and you're looking to be a salvage recovery worker in a junkyard. Collateral sanction says you can't work in that particular capacity. What in the world does one have to do with the other? And they're just a bevy. I think Ohio has 300, 350, 400 collateral sanctions. You go through the list, and people are just being systematically excluded. They can't work certain places, can't live certain places, can't have various kinds of licenses, not eligible for government funding in some particular areas, and the story goes just on and on. So for me, collateral sanctions is certainly one of those, and hopefully we'll get into some discussion about that. There's some good things going on. Talk about them in a moment. But I want to go back to the second thing that I identified was employer discrimination against persons who have felony convictions. Now, it is illegal to discriminate against somebody in hiring simply because they have a felony conviction or they've been convicted of an offense. Everybody tells you that, you go, see with you, you can't do that, you can't do that. But those of you who work in the field, you know that that goes on all the time. You get felony offense, you go, oh, thank you for sharing, next. And we see that going on all the time. And in deference to employers, there are some considerations, I think, to be addressed, but not a mass exclusion. Hiring practice is the way to address that. Employers can be confronted or can be sued for negligent hiring. We've seen it happen. So I mean, there is some reason to scrutinize, to assess I think on a person by person basis, but the total exclusionary practice is, as far as I'm concerned, is not any good. Doesn't help anybody. Keeps people out of work.
I'm just going to follow up on what you said. I think it's definitely standard practice in a program that's trying to serve individuals with criminal justice history is to make sure that you're able to see and help the individual see what is the employer going to see when he does the background, or he or she does the background check. And knowing and requesting that follow-up to see what they see, because until there is some regulation of the background check industry, then what an employer will see may very well have things that are incorrect. It could include convictions or arrests that never led to convictions. It could include things that should have been sealed. And so the opportunity to be able to refute if there is an adverse, they call it adverse action taken based on the information in the criminal background check, you have a right to refute it. However, to do that takes some handholding. So if we are talking about programmatic interventions, it's to be able to build in that capacity in the community so that you yourselves as providers can understand how to read a background check, what should be on there, what shouldn't be on there, and how you can clean things up, whether it's, are you eligible for an expungement, is something, or sealing, if something has not been, is showing that should be sealed, how you go about fixing those things. So that is sort of a capacity issue within the community that are serving this population that I think is worth investing in.
Right. Shouldn't we be pushing for some national standards, best practices around background checks? I mean, those of us who operate programs, I mean, we got to do best practices. I mean, open the door, they want me to do a best practice for it. But now we got these background checks that are impacting folks, negatively all across the board, and nobody's saying that this doesn't meet standards, that background, those procedures don't meet standards. Maybe that's a conversation we ought to be having locally in our community, in our state, but also with our state legislatures, where a lot of this foolishness originates at. But some background, some best practices for background checks.
Somewhere to start, I don't know if it's National Employment Law Project or the Pew Report, but I have a great article that research says that 50% of FBI background checks are incorrect. So I would love to send that out to people if you want to send that to your state representative or your congresswoman or man, and we can go from there.
I just have a question, and it's kind of unrelated to what we're talking about right now, but I don't want to leave without having this answered. I work with Karma Able, which is a GED program, and we work with North Star, who is right across from where I am. So we not only there though, but within our sites throughout the county, we have lots of students who are returning citizens. And part of my job is that I go into the classes and talk to them monthly about transitioning from GED to the next phase in their life. Okay, whether it's going to be job, whether it's going to be into post-secondary, whatever. Post-secondary is a push from the state at this point. And we're talking to them about what opportunities are around there, what kind of jobs. We do the labor market, all of that. We talk to them about financial aid and everything. And I had a question, actually, it was just this week, from a student who said, I'm telling them that anyone, is qualified for financial aid if you meet these criteria. What is the stance for federal, for returning citizens? What crimes, what convictions, are there certain things that are going to not allow them to obtain financial aid? I don't know, because this is not my background, so that's one of the things I'm hoping to get out.
Anybody in the room can help answer that?
I know that Kent State required a student there if you were convicted of a drug
while you're a
If
student.
you're receiving federal aid and you get convicted of like drug trafficking, then
They're
you're not
okay.
eligible.
Did you have a response to that?
I have a
Okay.
response to that.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
You're only denied federal benefits if a judge ordered that, and that was in the past. Other than that, you qualify just like anybody else.
And that's what my understanding was, but I had a lot of questions coming at me, and I thought, well, maybe I don't know what I thought I knew, so.
If you go on our website and look up the Summit, or go on Summit 211, which is our wonderful info line, on the homepage is the Summit County Reentry Network Guide. And I think we stole it from Cuyahoga County, but we included the student loans on there.
Okay.
And essentially, they just have to fill out a piece of paper saying where they were, and they couldn't register for military service, like if they were
Okay.
incarcerated, because FAFSA wants to know that they've got all those obligations.
Okay.
So they have to fill out a form for that. But